I'm TV and welcome to my crib. Hello my book babes, welcome to my library tour officially. I feel like I've been wanting to do one of these for a while, but I've just been waiting and waiting for the right moment. But I've realized there's never going to be a perfect moment because my library is ever changing with the books I have, with the way I organize it, that I might as well do one for the year of 2026 and maybe we can revisit next year and see how it's changed. I'm going to take you on half a vlog style, half stationary style tour of my library as it currently stands. I am very blessed because we did buy a house earlier this year and this house happened to have an extra front room. We have our living room to the left here and then here was just kind of this extra space right by the front door that I foresaw my library space. So I'm going to give you a little tour kind of starting from the doorway and give you the full 360 on how I'm currently organizing everything going on here. And then we'll go through each of the shelves and I'll just talk about how I'm organizing it, some of my favorite books, and why my library looks like the way it does. So without further ado, let's get started on this tour. The front door, as you can see, so I'm going to go up against the wall here. And this is what it looks like. This is kind of my living room area. Don't mind anything there. I kind of want to get a curtain maybe, or some sort of thing to hide the living room from my library room. But I'll just take you on a first overall look. We're gonna start on my left, kind of talk you through my desk setup. I want a desk because I want a place to film, to do work on my laptop, and to overall just have a secondary space where I can put things and organize things. So that's what this is. When I was designing this room, I wanted to be kind of cottagecore-y, flowery. So we got this gold curtain rod and these flowery rose-like yellow curtains. And then we also got this yellow rug that matched the curtains very, very well. And I didn't want the curtains to be too heavy or too dark, so they're a bit see-through, but just enough coverage that when you want privacy, you can have it. And then over here is my little tripod stand. It's kind of where I have all my cords, where I charge my microphone, where I charge my phone, etc. This is the desk that I have, kind of do a 360 here. And in here, I kind of just have miscellaneous stuff, a hairbrush for I need to brush my hair when I'm doing videos. The scissors, which are very important because the other big reason to have this desk is this is where I open all my packages. I'm very blessed to get a lot of packages, not only through my own buying, but through publishers as well. So this is a great place to open all my packages. I kind of have my setup here where again, I got all my cords, all my chargers. I'm able to charge my phone here, my laptop. And then I always, if I just finished a book and I still need to make a video to review it, I'll set it on my desk here so I don't forget about it. I'm gonna pull out this chair for you because it's kind of my pride and joy right now. I got this chair off Facebook Marketplace, I think for either 150 or 200, and I love it. It was the exact vibe I was wanting to go for, and it fits literally perfectly inside my desk. So that's my little desk setup that was just really imperative to the overall flow of the library. So now I will guide you over and I'm going to set you up and we can talk about these shelves. I figure I'm going to try to do 1 to 2 shelves at a time. I'm going to talk from kind of far away and then I'll give you that very up close and personal look. But the only slightly unfortunate thing about the flow of this room is that whenever I do want to either film, say, from this corner so I can have the background be my books, or if I want to kind of get into this corner here, I do have to move the desk. So I'm going to go do that and then we'll chat about the beginning of my library shelves. Alrighty, here we are. I will say I'll start with this empty space here. I don't know really what to do with it. It was either the way our shelves fit together is either have an empty space on this side or on the other side, and I felt like this side was a bit better. Once I kind of finish the library tour, I'll give you an idea of my future plans for the library, and that'll probably include what to do with that blank space. But I might also show you down here in this kind of corner, when I do a little close-up, I might show you. I have basically an accumulation of some boxes, because I do sell my books sometimes, and so it's nice to have a box that's already been shipped to me, handy, ready, so I don't gotta buy any sort of boxes to sell the books with myself. I also have just some random assortments of stuff. Like I have a little counter right here for how many books I've read this year. So I have that. I have sticky notes to put in my TBR jar, just an accumulation of etc. for the library. And then I have a roll of paper towels because whenever I buy secondhand, which I do a lot, I always clean my secondhand with hand sanitizer and towels. So alas, that is the first section that is basically bare. Now, I'm very grateful. My lovely husband built me these floor to ceiling shelves. They were not originally to the ceiling. It was just kind of the bookshelves and you could see above it. But then I expanded my collection and we had to do it. So it's gonna be kind of an awkward angle because I'm gonna start at the top, but I think you guys can see at the top. So that's where we'll start. Basically, these 3 shelves are all fantasy. I will say the majority of my fantasy is romantasy. That's like one of my favorite genres, but there is some epic fantasy, dystopian stuff in there as well. Now, the biggest change to my library since I initially started it was that I used to separate my books between read and unread. I would also always separate them by genre, but that was the main like through line. I would have maybe my read over here and then all my unread on these other shelves, just so I kind of keep track of what I've read and what I haven't read. The problem was what I have not read is a lot more than what I have read and kept. That's the key thing, because I have over 400 books on my physical TBR, and I have maybe like 100 on my read and kept shelves because I donate or just get rid of through some method of either selling or donating about 50% of the books I read, because I only keep books that are normally about 3.75 star or above. And that's usually only 50% of my books. So while my read shelf is a lot smaller, it doesn't mean I've only ever read 100 books, because I've read 100 plus just this year. You catch my vibe. So the problem I ran into was that my unread was so much bigger than my read that I had a hard time kind of organizing it. Then once we got these extensions, I decided to do a big shift and do just genre and separate my read and unread on the same side and see if I liked it that way. So far, it's good. I will never say that I won't change it again, but I like it so far. We'll see. That being said, at least when it comes to the fantasy section, I tried to separate the read and unread by having my entire read stuff on a separate shelf. So for example, if we're gonna start in the corner with this small shelf, read, 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 and this shelf you can't really see is read too, and then the last 2 shelves are fully unread. I'm not mixing them on one singular section of the shelf. If we have our middle here, read at the top, read, and then unread all the way down. And similar with the third one, read on top and then unread all the way down. So while they're on the same bookshelf, they're not on the same book level. I think that's what it's called. Does that make sense? I will pan down here so you can kind of see the bottom. As you can see, thankfully with the way I've organized things, I have a little bit of room. I will say this bottom shelf right here, the long one, it has not been organized since I did my big unhaul, so forgive its kind of just shoved togetherness. But the good thing about kind of mixing the unread and the read was that I have a little bit more room per genre, and that's what I was needing. So I personally like to keep at least one empty section per genre, or else I get overwhelmed and I feel like I'm bursting at the seams in my library. I don't know if that makes sense at all. And yeah, now we're gonna do a little close-up, which is gonna be so fun. All right, we'll start at the top here. It's my special edition of The Divine Rivals Duology by Rebecca Ross. We have some more special editions with their sprayed edges out. Here's kind of a mix. A lot of the times if I get paperbacks of fantasy books, I don't really know what to do with them because I'm either getting hardbacks or I'm getting special editions. So I've kind of just shoved some like special editions I really like but don't necessarily need to display, some paperbacks, and yeah, some other paperbacks in general. This shelf is kind of a hodgepodge of books that I don't necessarily feel like I need to display, but I don't need to get rid of either. So I have like my basic Fourth Wing, I have my Glow of the Everflame series. Back here I have like Mistborn and my paperback version of Babel, because I have multiple special editions of Babel, so I just don't need to display that. And then here we have my TBR jar, which I use sometimes for challenges. And we also have this little pin I got with my special edition of The Night and the Moth. And I have my little fantasy little genre label there. Down here is more red. This is kind of my R.F. Kuang shelf in a way. I have the first 2 books in the Popular Trilogy special edition, and I have 2 special editions of Babel. And I also have a Six of Crows special edition that just came out. And then these are books that, again, they're the paperbacks I've read, and like I'm kind of debating whether I want to keep them or not. But they're just kind of there for now. And then these last 2 shelves are unread. This one is kind of a hodgepodge of everything. I'm just kind of shoving books that I don't know what to do with in there. And then this one, I try to keep just cozy fantasy. So now we're gonna tour my favorite shelf. This is, again, all red. We have the Six of Crows special editions, Half City, Fairy Loot, the Poet Empress Owl Crate, and Fae Crate, Daggermouth. Second row, we have the Wraithmark Sword of Kaigen, Fairy Loot, The Night and the Moth, Crate, Wild Reverence. I believe this is the Lumba Crate, the Raven Scholar, and Rose in Chains. These are some of my favorite books of all time, and they deserve to be displayed in all their glory. But now we have my mostly unread, but still so beautiful. We have the first 2 books in the, I think it's the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. This is the Broken Bindings subscription box for the past couple months. Dominion, Verity Guild, and This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. And then on this section, we have just some more special editions. I will say I have read Wild Reverence, obviously, but I thought the theme kind of fit well with the other books, and I have my books read so far this year. And it's very similar for this fourth shelf, just kind of special editions I thought would be fun to display, but I had not read any of them. And these last two shelves need the most help. Again, I have not organized these since my last unhaul that I think will be posted before this video. So again, they're just kind of fantasy books that either aren't special editions or I just don't know what to do with yet, or for example this whole bottom row seems to be paperbacks. Yeah, just basically non-special edition, but they do need to be organized. And our last fantasy shelf will come up here. This is my only read section of this particular shelf. This is the Metal Slinger Light Wielder duology. I just love that sprayed edge, and then some of my tall paperbacks. And then I kind of tried to organize by color theme for these neck shelves. I think it's kind of fun to do that. But like I said, these are all just unread. And then the little empty section at the bottom, which I, again, like to have so I don't feel so overwhelmed. Here's kind of a general overview. And there you have it. Those are my 3 fantasy sections. All right, so now we're gonna move on to my other shelves, basically, other fiction. We have literary fiction and some historical fiction down here. We have horror, and then this last shelf is basically all thrillers. A little bit of horror mixed in there, but basically thrillers and horrors. I feel like my literary fiction is the shelf that needs the most help. I don't really know how to organize it. I love lit fic, but I have to be in a very specific mood for it. And when I do read lit fic, it's mostly weird girl lit. So I don't know. I like the way I have it organized right now, but it could always be better. And even though I don't have obviously as many special editions for literary fiction, thrillers, and horrors, I still try to display the books that I love the most. So I kind of try to keep a theme of displays on the very top shelf. So that's what we have here, some of my favorite literary fictions of all time. And again, with these as well. And these 2 shelves are read and the rest are unread. Similar vibes with my horror section. I have my top favorite horror at the very top, and then my read section right here as well. And then all unread, to be read. And again, with thrillers, I have some of my favorite at the top for display, my read and kept, and my unread. I know it can be kind of jarring to be like, this is the only books you've read and kept, but I am a little bit picky when it comes to my displays. I'm a little bit picky with what I choose to keep. I will say, working at a library so far this year and getting access to library copies has been a game changer, because now I can just take books that I don't like and return it, and I never had them on my shelf to begin with. It's lovely. Alrighty, let me go in for the close-up. So as I said, up top we have some of my favorite literary fiction, and then my read and kept shelf. I also have a bookmark little holder, so it needs to be tucked in. I have lots of fabulous bookmarks, and those are my read and kept shelf so far. Here I've kind of separated these into paperbacks. Most of this is weird girl lit, but there's a few general literary fiction here as well. And then I actually did a new thing recently where I separated my translated fiction. I love translated fiction. I think it's fun. I think it's very eye-opening. These are all translated fiction specifically. And then down here, I feel like I kind of focused more on just traditional lit fic instead of weird girl lit. So we have things kind of organized by color. I tried to do it, but then I kind of gave up halfway through. But they are separated mostly by paperback and hardcover. I think that's very satisfying visually, in my opinion. And again, here we go, more hardcovers of just general literary fiction. This could definitely be organized better for sure. And then after this section, we kind of have classics-ish. I mean, I know that The Goldfinch technically is not a classic, but I feel like it's low-key a modern classic. So that's where I've put it. And then I have just a few of the classics that hopefully I'll get to at some point in time. And lastly, I literally just moved this the other day. I have my unread historical fiction. It was just taking up too much space on the horror shelf, so again, we have my little genre thing, and I have my little dragon bookend. So yeah, these are ones I haven't read. We'll go back at the top for horror. These are some of my favorite horror books, including my special edition of You Did Nothing Wrong, and then my horror that I've read and kept so far. And then we'll go down to horror that I have not read. This is all hardcovers. These are hardcovers as well. I kind of separated these ones by color. This is sort of a darker theme, and these are sort of my pops of color of my horror. And then we go down to the paperbacks. So yeah, that's kind of what I have. And then this is where the historical fiction used to be. And so then right under it, I had my read and kept historical fiction and my nonfiction. So I've kept this here for now. I might move it eventually if my horror collection grows. But yeah, this is kept and read historical fiction, kept and read nonfiction. And last but certainly not least, we have some of my favorite thrillers at the top, and then my read and kept thrillers. This is a little picture easel we got when we were in Prague. I just think it's very cute for a shelf. And then again, I separate them by hardcovers and softcovers for the most part. I think because I have so many thrillers, I tried to do color like a little bit, if you see my intention here. And then yeah, all the rest are paperbacks. Again, there might be a little bit of horror mixed in here, but c'est la vie. And then yeah, it's mostly empty down here. These are 2 books that I don't like enough to keep, but I'm keeping until I do my monthly reading wrap up so I can have a physical copy to show and have less editing work on myself. But then once I am done with my monthly reading wrap up, I'll get rid of these, donate them probably. Now I'm gonna kind of walk you through some of the stuff here. This is my sort of ARC donate pile. Now, let me be clear. I would actually say the majority of these ARCs were not given to me directly from publishers. These were given to me through ARC swaps or trades. So I don't feel as bad like giving these away because a lot of them are not from the publisher. This is my Little Free Library stack. Eventually I want to do a really big Little Free Library vlog where I go to a bunch of different ones and give away books, but that's where most of these are. Or also like duplicates. For example, I already got The Anatomy of Magic myself, and then Forever decided to give me a free copy. So I don't need both. You know, that's just is what it is. We then have my plants. I know that this one in particular really needs to be repotted. I've just been very lazy. I don't really feel like crouching down, so I'm actually just gonna talk you through holding the camera through this. So this is a few different genres. The top is Weird Girl Lit hardcovers, and they are organized by color. Again, I think hardcovers organized by color can be really fun. This is a little thing that was made for me by my bestie, and I just like to put it here just for a little display. This is my sort of, I tried to do a speculative fiction slash magical realism shelf. I'm sure there's more books I could add in here, but this is the ones that come to mind immediately. I have read Dark Matter, but I just don't really have the space right now, nor have I read enough sci-fi and kept them to have a fully separate read shelf. So I'm keeping Dark Matter here. I know that I've read it, and then the rest of these are unread. And then these is my short story collection, actually. So I think I'm gonna do a vlog soon just reading short story collections. But yeah, and then last but not least is my romance and nonfiction. My romance has really exploded. I don't know how that happened. I used to have 0 contemporary romance books on my TBR, and now it's everywhere. So these are the ones I've read and kept. This is a little Avatar: Last Airbender. This little Avatar: Last Airbender music box my husband got me. Putting it here. And these are unread, unread, unread. I don't know what happened. I suddenly got a huge boom of books, and now my romance shelf is bursting at the seams. And then, last but not least, is my nonfiction. It's mostly memoirs, but there's a few kind of random nonfictions in there as well. And yeah, technically my read nonfiction is still over in that corner, but for now, this is where my unread is kept. And then all of these books are my library books right now. These are all the ones I have checked out. Thankfully, my library lets you check out books for 3 weeks up to a month, and I can always just renew. But I try to order them between due dates. So like this is the next book that's due soonest, and then latest, and then this book would be due latest. So I try to just keep a nice stack here. I'd be mindful of them. This is my husband's current read. I think he's on the 5th or 6th under Collar Carl. This book is an absolute unit. And then lastly, this section's kind of random, but this is my selling sections. These are all the books I'm currently listed on Pango for sale. These are books that I'm not gonna like resell on Pango. I'm just gonna donate. So this is kind of a donate pile to my used bookstore. And then this is there because I package and write addresses on my books. So kind of funky, kind of fresh, you know what I mean? I'll very quickly show you. This is my husband's shelf. He got into reading after I did because it was kind of a thing where I was reading all the time, and he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, girl, read. So now he has this huge collection. Before he had literally nothing, basically. I think he's pretty sure he started with Mistborn, potentially. Had already read like The Lord of the Rings, some other like fantasy style stuff, but he obviously got very addicted to Dender Collar Carl. He read the first 2 books of Dune. He liked the Foundation trilogy. He really loved Project Hail Mary. Recently finished Between Two Fires and loved it. So for an early Christmas present, I got him this special edition of Between Two Fires. And from time to time, he also enjoys some nonfiction. So he has that as well. So yeah, it's really cool that he gets his own little shelf here. Last but certainly not least, this is my ARC cart. As you can see, it is absolutely filled to the gills with books, and I again organize them with publishing date. So this book will be published the soonest, and then it goes like this the publishing order. I'm very grateful and very blessed to get these many ARCs from publishers. Sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, not gonna lie, but I'm very grateful. And so I try to just keep the ARCs separate. I do add them to my physical TBR count. So there's at least like 50 books here, I feel, including the ones in the back. But I just try to keep it separate so I'm not, being overwhelmed on my bookshelves. This is for if I need to reach the top shelf. It's not a cute little, ladder like some of the other libraries, but hey, it's there. And this is my mirror. I've had this for a while now. It's honestly very cute. It fits the vibe, the aesthetic, And y'all, that's it. That's my entire home library currently July 2026. I hope you enjoy this little tour. It's kind of chaotic sometimes. I feel like I'm very much neutral chaos at times, but it works for me right now. But by next year, when I do another library tour, it could be totally different. I will say I have certain plans for this room right now. As you can see by some of the empty shelves, I have plenty of room. I have plenty of space. But if I were to ever need more, I could always do the archway. I could do this singular wall. I could do that empty corner. We can get another bookshelf next to my husband's. There's room to grow. And I'm gonna really fill this space and burst it at the seams before I decide to move somewhere else. But for now, it fits everything and I'm very happy with it. I feel very blessed to have this house. I feel very blessed to have a husband that supports my hobbies. And I feel blessed that I get to share it with all of you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having an amazing day or night wherever you are. I hope you're about to read something absolutely scrumptious and delicious. I want that for you. And if you're looking for a book club to join for August, my online people book club, Let's Get Literate, is doing literary fiction for August. And we are voting right now. It might be closed by the time you join, but if you want to join us, click the link down below and let's have some fun. Join the book club, get in on it. It's a blast over there. That's all I have for you. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.